For many people, block reference is a killer feature, a superpower. It's what allows Bruce Banner to become the Incredible Hulk. But is that always a good thing? Sometimes it is, sometimes it's not. But before I get into my hot take on block references, let's explore this exciting new feature in Obsidian. Just as a reminder, I'm Milo, and this is Linking Your Thinking, where we talk about the why and how of making meaningful notes. Let's hop in. I have made a new note with today's date, block ref test. I made a couple sentences. This is me testing out block reference. Let's talk about the mental squeeze point. So that's another note. I know there's a nice paragraph block that I can use here. So let's start with an embedded reference to the main block of the note. So starting from scratch, even though it's below, I'm just going to explode it with an exclamation point, bracket, bracket. So that's the notation. Then I'll do mental. Okay, so it auto-completed. I'm going to arrow down to it. So now with it kind of highlighted in the arrow down, I can hit the Shift 6, block references, it's a little bit more to take in. So just keep that in mind. This is an advanced use. You certainly don't need to use it. So I can hit Shift 6, which will insert the caret. Now it's looking at all the blocks in that note. I'm going to choose this main paragraph note that I want to use, and let's see what happens. Cool. So the caret changes to a hashtag, and it gives it this hex identifier. So I really don't need this for reference anymore. Now if I go into my preview mode, let's see what this looks like. Okay, let's go check out what the actual linked reference looks like for comparison. So it gave us this little paragraph. Now if we open the link, here's what I am referencing. And I'm in preview mode here. When I hop into edit mode, notice what's at the very end. So the program has added this little hex code, this 6-digit code with a caret. So that's the basics of a block reference. Now let's look at other ways that it can be used. A regular link to the main block would look like this. So what's the, in edit mode, if I don't want to embed the block reference, but if I just want to link to it, same thing, I'm going to type in mental, okay, arrow down to it in the pop-up, and then I can hit caret, which is Shift 6, and then I can go down to the thing that I want to reference, hit enter, and boom, there it is. And so when I go into preview mode, no preview because I exploded it here, but we can still link to it here, click, and there we go. So I click back. Okay, so why does the caret, right now I have pulled up, why does this convert autocomplete to a hashtag? And from my limited tech knowledge, this is so every URL that you create, let's imagine that you want to use Obsidian Publish, all of these URLs are maintained. So there's complete consistency in you being able to use Obsidian Publish to block reference, which I guess is pretty fascinating when you think about it. Okay, so that's the basic of block reference. Now let's just explore a couple simple use cases. I know that you'll have a lot yourself. These are a couple that I just kind of ran into that I thought were useful. So if part one was the general use of block references in Obsidian, now we're diving into some interesting use cases. Here's something that's kind of neat about how Obsidian is handling block references is you can actually choose what the code is that references it. All you need to do is add a caret. So let's explain what I just said because that didn't make sense while I said it. If I go to, let's go to sources, and we're going to dive into, let me make this a little bit easier for you. We're going to dive into this research paper on willpower. So this is something I took notes on a long time ago in Zotero, which is still a great app for collecting research article PDFs. So we're scrolling down, and we get to my extracted notations. So these are highlights in a PDF that I've extracted into Markdown. Now it exists within Obsidian. So if we look at one of these paragraphs, I want to focus on this anterior cingulate cortex as a part of our brain that's involved in behavior regulation. And it gets exhausted when we use willpower. So let's explore this paragraph. So I want to reference this note in the note called flow. I just want to put it in somewhere. What would I do? How would I do that? I go to the end of this paragraph, this block. I make sure that there's a space between the last character and then I hit caret, and then I can type in whatever. In this case, let's just call it cognitive, and then Robinson for the last name of the first author, and then I could put 2010 if I wanted a date. What I'm trying to get at here is I've just created manually a block reference that is actually descriptive. It's descriptive to what it's showing me. And maybe I put an A at the end just to kind of give it some arbitrary numbering system. So this is pretty cool, and it is now a block reference. Why that's important is because I decided years later, oh, I want to reference this in my note on being in flow. Not the best example, but you kind of get it. So now if I'm in this note, I want to look at this title, which is source, and I give it a date and all that jazz. So let me explode because I want to embed this, bracket, bracket. It saw that I was looking at this, so I can put this, put that note in there. I'm going to backspace, hit a caret, and now, what was that? In neurocognitive, okay, so if I go down in neurocognitive terms, cool. And if we look at what that reference was, Cognitive Robinson 2010 A, and we can see it's referenced here. So if I go to preview mode, we can actually preview this. Then if I click on the link, it goes directly to that block. And that's one of the powers of block reference. So if you're used to my other videos, this is way more advanced. You don't need to use this feature, but it does provide some value if you know what you're doing and you really need to reference blocks. I want to show a little bit more of a pared down example of referencing blocks using Obsidian. Just today I was on Twitter and I found something kind of cool. So I want to open up something I saw Giovanni. Okay, not that, but Giovanni said something about block references, and I want to quote that in my personal knowledge management system. So, he says here, I use Obsidian for this type of use, and he says something else. So I'm just going to, I know there are better methods to extract things from Twitter. This is a manual method, just copy text. I go back and let me just paste that text in, which I just repasted in. And let's say this in particular, this block I want to reference. So I just go to the end of it and I hit caret and I hit a 1. That's it. All I have to really do is hit a 1. Doesn't even have to be a unique identifier because what we're identifying is the text. So I use Obsidian. So now let's go to this, actually my script for this video, and starting from scratch, if we want to reference blocks like quotes and tweets, and here's something from Giovanni that I want to reference. Let's start from scratch. So I backspace. I'm going to explode this note, which is the date, today's date. It's my daily note, if you will. Now let's hit caret, and I can look at all the different blocks in this note. So let's just explore what that means. That means this first title block is right here. Then the next one, tweets from Giovanni, is right here. Web, here. I use, and they are. So we're looking at all the blocks. I just think that's kind of interesting and something important to kind of break down slowly so we can digest block reference. Because if I backspace and hit hashtag, which is the header level reference, so instead of a block level reference, it's header level. Let's go back to that Giovanni note, the daily note, and now we see just the 2 headers are referenced. So hopefully you're getting a little bit of a sense of how to link out these different levels of reference. You can link pages, which is just that. Or we can go to the header level and link to one of these. Or now we can go to the block level. So it gives us this great flexibility in what we can do. Almost too much sometimes, but it does give us flexibility. In this case, I'm going to block reference what Giovanni said about how he uses Obsidian. It autocompletes to hashtag 1 because remember, I put in the caret 1. So now if we go back to this, hit preview, and we have the quote right here. We can link back, we can click this button, and boom, we're looking exactly at what was referenced. A couple extra notes on block reference. We can do global searches now. So if you hit, let's see, anywhere, let's go here, and I go bracket, bracket, instead of just hitting the caret once, which is only searching this one file, if I hit it again, now I'm searching all the blocks in my library. which, that's insane. But you can do it if you know exactly what you're looking for. And same thing now with headers. So we actually have the header functionality as well, and I can search all my headers. That works a little bit better for me. Just another interesting note, in version 0.9.5, we can now search headers. Outside of block reference, there are two things in 0.9.5 that are also worth mentioning, which is now there's a command to, if you are someone who uses a lot of checklists, you have that one and this one and this one. So now you can just go to whatever note you're on and hit Command Enter to complete it that way. So it's a really fast way to toggle your check boxes. And finally, the community theme has been restyled. So this is just something, instead of this massive image where you really had to scroll, now we can see a lot more easily. And I think it does scale. So yeah, so if you zoom out, you can see 3 at a time. Depending on your screen size, you'll probably see 2 at a time, which is a little bit more helpful. So those are the basics of block reference in the new version of Obsidian 0.9.5. Now let's go to the conclusion. So after we've gone over this preview, where do I sit? Well, I'm not sure block references are game changers for me, but that could always change with a little bit of time. It is an incredibly powerful tool that we now have access to in Obsidian. So I guess in that way, I feel like Bruce Banner deciding whether or not to go full Hulk mode. Do I want to link atomic blocks in an overpowered, hard to control, and potentially fragmented way? Or do I want to stay in Bruce Banner mode and keep a sense of control over my thoughts and my abilities to articulate ideas calmly? As with most things, somewhere in the middle, the truth lies. So on this, more than most things, I'm extremely curious. How do you plan to use block references in Obsidian? And hey, as always, if you got something out of this video, please give it a like and subscribe if you haven't already. And please comment below. I really want to know how you'll be using block references in Obsidian. Until next time.